Is your agent playing chess or checkers? In today's video, we're going to talk about, do you really need to hire an expert negotiator in your real estate transaction? We're going to get started right now. Hey everyone, my name is Nick Good. I'm your Dallas Fort Worth real estate agent. In today's video, we're going to talk with Elizabeth Austin. She is the team leader and top agent with the Good Home team at eXp Realty. By the way, if this is your first time watching one of our videos, go ahead, hit that subscribe button down below, as well as that notification bell, and please leave us a comment. I want to know if you're watching this, if you're liking the topic, what you think and your thoughts. So go ahead, subscribe, notification bell, leave us a comment, please. That way we can make more videos that are reaching out and touching on the topics that you want to learn about. But in today's video, I'm interviewing Elizabeth Austin, again, top real estate agent with the Good Home team at eXp Realty. And we're going to talk about, do you really need to hire a real estate expert negotiator when it comes to selling or buying a home? And you'll find out why we're talking about, is your agent playing chess or checkers when it comes to your real estate transaction? We want to talk about something that we're starting to see a lot more of in our real estate transactions and real estate market in general. Is do you truly need to hire a real estate expert when it comes to negotiating on your behalf? Right? A lot of people say they're great negotiators, then when it comes down to it, they just are just...
A lot of people feel like we're just the middleman who's relaying information from one party to the other. Also not true. And
so, with what we're seeing in the marketplace right now, there's a lot more going on, a lot more intricacies that are starting to need to be finessed and finagled throughout these real estate transactions that we're dealing with. By the way, just when you're watching this replay, and just to get it out there, our real estate market in Dallas Fort Worth is amazing.
Yeah, it's
right?
Really strong right now.
It's flying off the shelf. And contrary to what you're starting to see media reports on saying, right? We're starting to see reports coming out that the U.S. has been in a recession since February, right? Here in Dallas Fort Worth, I mean, inventory levels were hovering right around 2.7. Is that what I said this morning?
Yeah, that's where you have to look at your micro market and take the news with a grain of salt, and then realize what actually applies to you and what doesn't.
Yep. And the reason why I want to bring up some stats and just understand what's going on in the market, because this helps when it comes to being that expert negotiator. So again, Elizabeth, let's go over, do you truly need to, if you're a client and you're looking to hire a real estate agent, and you're looking at maybe a couple different ones, and this one's really starting to stand out, but maybe you like this other one, but one of them saying, look, when shit hits the fan, right? So when things are going wrong, when we find that right property that you're in love with, what are you going to do to make sure that I win and make sure I get that property?
Right. There's so many different things that you need your real estate agent to be an expert in and to be able to do for you. One of those, for just to kind of take it step by step, you talked about the kind of all of the intricacies that are there in deals and in negotiations. And now in our real estate market, it's not where it was in 2016. Even though it is still a great market, it is different, and we're seeing a lot more dominoes being lined up. So if I'm working with a homeowner who needs to sell and we're also looking to buy, if we go under contract with that seller and then that seller is also looking to buy, we now have 4 transactions that are dependent on one another, and you need to know the ins, the outs, the intricacies of that, so that time frames and everything stay online, or stay on time, I guess, and that you hit those targets. And if you don't have someone who can navigate that situation, then it can cost you to miss your closing date, or it can cost you the opportunity on the home altogether. We're experiencing that right now. One of the other things we have is, once you find that trusted agent, you do need to find someone that you can trust for many reasons. One of those is for the resources that we're going to offer over, as far as recommendations on lenders, on title companies, on inspections, because there's a reason we're recommending these people over. It's because they live here, they work here, they know this local market. So for instance, I've got a deal right now that honestly shit is hitting the fan on this deal. And they completely continuously ignored my recommendation on lenders. They went through 3 different ones before we found one at Quicken, which I would not recommend. So a last minute pop up on this agent not understanding Texas and Texas property taxes.
Oh, the loan officer.
The loan officer, yes. And this was one where, as an agent, though, this, never took my advice. And that is something else that you want from the agent, because that's all a part of this deal. Also, that's a part of the deal when negotiating and presenting your offers. We were lucky that everything else that I did and that we wrote together was strong enough, because this was in multiple offers against 5 other offers. And we do know that agents are going to look at who the lender is on that and say, things typically never go smoothly with this person, or we know that there's hiccups with that could detract your offer and make it less appealing.
So what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding, for clarification, is that even so, hiring an agent who says they're an expert at negotiating, or who truly is, right? It's also the expertise goes along with their vendor relationships, 100%. The loan officers, the title company inspectors, and even the contractors that you're bringing in and probably recommending a little bit, and saying, hey, let's go look at this and make sure that for example, you had a home that recently closed where a vendor, a pool guy, was saying, hey, almost every pool that he was looking at needed $30,000 to $40,000 worth of work.
Every single pool, and it's a better investment to just put a pool in than it is to, take a home with a pool and repair it.
Right. So,
which I think we would completely disagree with, knowing the return on investment for a pool.
Right. So understanding that the relationships that your agent that you're going to hire has is a huge plus, and the style and expertise. When it comes to negotiation, your negotiation strategies, not even tactics, just the strategy alone, to be able to get you to that end desired goal, which hopefully the goal, if you're buying the house, is to still buy it, right? Not to get into a hopefully not a money pit, but to still get into that vision of you getting into that home, you still loving it, and then just making it better and making it your own.
Well, you also need to hire an agent who you trust and who is that expert negotiator, because things are going to get more tense when it comes to, it's very easy as a homeowner, let's talk about sellers for instance in particular, it's very easy as a homeowner to be prideful and emotional about your home, whereas we can look at facts, not feelings, and all of the logistics that go along with that. So when people start to submit offers, you may be offended by offers that are being submitted. And that's where you need someone who can show you truly the data and the analytics of the market and what your home could be worth. But then once you get into repairs, the same thing. You need someone who can guide you through that and tell you what's realistic, what's not, and not get so emotional by people requesting something that you want to just kill the deal, because you could go back on the market, continue to not sell your property, and that could be so much more costly than what you're agreeing to do in repairs. And sometimes you can't think outside of that. And this is where, as an agent, though, you do need to know what's reasonable versus what's not, so that you can help advise and guide. But it is very natural for homeowners to get emotional and prideful and want to stand firm and actually get in their own way on making a good deal happen. Not just trying to sell you to anyone and everything, but actually making a good deal happen.
So again, let me understand it a little bit better. So when you're a seller, your agent that's representing you, right? So the agent that you hire to sell your home, their job is also to, typically the first offer, what we have found, is a lot of times the best one that we see. Typically, right? There's always exceptions to that rule, but not letting a deal fall apart just with the mindset, and I've seen agents do this where, don't worry, there'll be another one. And then what happens is, the longer you sit on the market, you get passed up on. And I'll give you a prime example of this, right? So my family and I, my brother and I, and my wife and sister-in-law, we're looking at buying a lake house together, and it put it in perspective, right? Because I'm now that buyer looking at houses. I'm now the client. And we're looking at houses, and at this particular lake, homes are flying, right? Like, we're talking about off market. The minute they hit, there are multiple offers, and the ones that we were looking at have been on the market a little bit. And even knowing what I know,
Still makes you wonder.
I'm going in there. I'm like, what is wrong with this house?
Right.
Right. Why has it been sitting so long? Why is
If
it?
it's such a deal, wouldn't other
Yeah.
people?
Or
Yeah.
what's wrong with it? Why are people passing it?
Yeah.
And my brother coined this. He's like, we were looking at the losers, right? Because they've been sitting. We're now looking at the loser houses that haven't gotten any contracts, even though we don't know the backstory of it, right? And so that's something to really keep aware of, because we all do it. Even us being in this business as long as we have,
Yeah,
we
that's a good
all
point.
do it.
Yeah.
And so it's understanding that, and how your agent, being an expert negotiator, is also how they can relay it to you
I was
as the
going to say,
client.
and how they help manage you. And that may sound bad, but it's the truth, because you touched on something here, which is perspective. So as a seller, I could be so offended that someone offered me this price or that they asked for these repairs. And so few will remember that they acted the same exact way when they were making offers. And that's where you need to be that agent who is going to be bold enough to bring it back to the surface of, please remember, we just did this with a client where it's like, you got offended that they asked for repairs, but we just did the same thing just as aggressively on the home we got you under contract
Yep.
on. And how are you going to be offended by that? Now let's take that reaction out and let's look at this objectively and respond.
Yep.
But that's part of helping negotiate too, is managing the client and their emotions. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible.
Right.
And then, this is just kind of like advice to clients out there, whether it's the buyer, whether it's the seller, is if another party makes a request, if it's something that you can do, be generous and be kind when you can. I saw, recently had another situation where a client was offended by the repairs being requested and the amount of money they wanted for those repairs. We got through that. We made an arrangement, and then the buyer wanted to speed up closing. It was something we had originally talked about doing and agreed to, and they were just so offended and annoyed at that point that they stood firm and said no. Well, now we're in a place where we need to actually have asked them to speed up closing, and I was like, we'll do everything that we can, but I kind of brought it back to the surface. I said, how willing do you think they're going to be to accommodate us when we could have accommodated them and we couldn't? So you never know when you're going to need them on your side and when the tables are going to turn. So, it's one thing if you can't actually do it, but if you can and it doesn't ruin your plans or cost you money, like if people make these requests, I find that deals go better and everyone ends up happier when we're just reasonable people who try and hear each other out, rather than I'm going to puff my chest and I'm going to be the bigger bulldog here. And that goes for how agents manage one another as well too.
Yeah, 100%. So don't, again, to shorten that up, don't exhaust your last favor card, right? Because at the end of the day,
all your little short terms
yeah,
here.
we've seen it way too often to where somebody comes in and again, they just were, for lack of a better term, just not nice, jerks at times, and being an expert negotiator is not necessarily going hardball.
Correct.
Right?
I think that's such a common misconception.
Right, where there's no, like, here's the line, I'm not crossing it. That is a misunderstanding. That's not what this is about.
It's working together. It's anticipating what may come down the road. It's anticipating your opponent's move, and your opponent, as an agent, could be your client sometimes. It could be the other client, like the buyer on the other side of the deal, whatever part you're on, or the other agent. And I don't mean that once again in a negative way, but if I can anticipate your move, then I can also do my best to prepare and set expectations with you accordingly.
A lot of my friends, a good buddy of mine, Clayton, would always say, are you playing chess or checkers, right? And maybe we should have titled this, is your agent playing chess or checkers?
Change it real quick.
Right? Change it. I'll change it. But again, chess is it's definitely where you have to anticipate and more strategic. Checkers, not so much, right? And so there's a little bit of thought in that. So again,
I believe in strategy and everything. So your agent should.
Yeah.
If I'm going to leave with the last piece of advice, and this kind of goes into why you're hiring a professional, is if you are the client and you don't truly do this every day, I don't care if you've bought 5 homes in the past, unless you recently purchased this market, these homes, this prices, this strategies, everything, contracts are different. So don't pretend to be the expert unless you actually do this for a living. I've recently seen that kind of bite a client in the ass too, where, if you start to act like you're the expert and that all of, once again, the intricacies and the logistics of a real estate transaction, eventually I'm going to treat you like you do, because otherwise it's going to feel like I'm talking down to you. and you're going to get frustrated. It's going to feel like we're butting heads. So I'm going to believe you if you say that you know this. And then later, you may find that because you acted that way, it's changing the way we're communicating. And you're going to feel like there are surprises when I'm going to have assumed that because you told me you were the expert and you knew that you were prepared for this. So if you're not the expert, if you don't do this, then don't pretend that you are, so that you get all of the information from your agent, because I guarantee a good agent is here to truly walk you through every step, walk you through every contract, so that you don't have any surprises, you aren't caught off guard. And that is why you should trust, or you should hire an agent that you trust. That way you want to take their advice and you feel like you are on the same team working together.
100%. So again, guys, share this out. Comment down below if you're watching the replay. Type R, and then Elizabeth will leave her information. You can reach out to us at thegoodhometeam.com or 972-215-7653, and we'll see you guys next week.